Hello everybody and welcome back to the Protestant Education Channel. Today we're going to be talking about Thomas Coke. So Thomas Coke was the first bishop in Methodism, and usually that's all you ever hear about him. So I wanted to learn a little bit more and kind of share what I learned. So Thomas Coke was ordained in the Church of England, which is most, if not all, of the early Methodists came from the Church of England. It was a movement within the Church of England. But after Coke met with John Wesley, he became a very close friend and associate of John Wesley. And Coke always had a focus on missions, but we'll talk about that a little bit more later, actually a lot more later. But while being the president of the Church of Ireland, which he was for quite a long time, he and a friend would start kind of coming up with missions plans and plans for all these missions trips. Now, the story kind of goes quiet for a little bit, but the American Revolution kind of changed everything for Methodism as a whole. Like I said earlier, it was initially just a movement in the Anglican tradition, but following the Revolution, it would become its own denomination. Thomas Coke is kind of a really important figure within that little part of history. So essentially what happened was, after the Revolution, most of the Anglican ministers went back to England. Wesley did not, and he would ask the Church of England for more ministers, which the Church of England would say no. So since Coke was already a priest and a presbyter, Wesley reluctantly kind of made him the Bishop of America. So that basically gave Coke the authority to ordain ministers. And usually that's kind of the most that people know. Now, in my own research, I saw the more detailed kind of breakdown of how that all went down. And I think that's cool. And I think if that's something that interests you, go ahead, absolutely learn more. This is just kind of the shorthand way that I've always heard it. Coke became the bishop, and then Coke got to ordain ministers. And there's a little bit more to his time as bishop and what he did while he was in that office, but a lot of it is just running the church stuff. The lesser talked about part of Thomas Coke's story was his focus on missions and evangelism. He, like a lot of Methodists, was very, very staunchly anti-slavery, and even wrote a letter to George Washington about it. And here's a little fun fact for you. George Washington actually invited Thomas Coke to preach in Congress, which, that's cool. At least I think that's really cool. So after that, he would travel a little bit throughout England and Ireland, and that's where Coke would spend a lot of his time, England and Ireland. But he would start doing missions trips in the West Indies in 1786. And he would make several other trips over there too. And then John Wesley died. And after John Wesley's death, a big question was being asked: who's going to lead the Methodist movement? And everybody kind of thought that Coke was who Wesley wanted it to be. And so he was the president of the... he was the president for a while. For 2 years, and 2 separate one-year terms. Sorry, I need to clarify that. Oops. Both times he kept trying to get the conference to basically officially call him bishop. He did a lot, like I said before, he did a lot of traveling. He went to Paris, he preached in French. He established a mission in Gibraltar, and he spent 5 years traveling, doing Methodist missions, and promoted other people setting up missions. In Methodist history, evangelism is a very big thing to us. We've talked about Whitefield on this channel before. Coke right here is another great example. If you look at the Second Great Awakening, a lot of that was Methodists, was circuit rider, Methodist ministers. And I mean, even if you look into statistics of just Protestant groups, we're the biggest. Second to the SBC, which only recently started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. The Methodist Church was the largest Protestant denomination in America for a very long time. And I think we kind of have to, keep up this idea of evangelism and this idea of proselytizing. I mean, we always talk about, oh, well, America is a Christian nation, and there's debate to be had about that. I don't really want to come out and say my position. I try to remain fairly impartial on a lot of those things, but there's decent arguments both ways. We'll leave it at that. And if you do believe that, we arguably kind of really help set that up quite a bit. If you look at it. And we live in an unprecedented time. There is a large swath of people leaving Christianity, leaving Protestantism for orthodoxy and all that. And, it's a separate thing. But, we have these new opportunities to come and to minister. I mean, we talk about missions trips overseas, and that's great, and that's all well and good, but there are people here. There are people here in our country who haven't heard the word, and it is up to us to tell them. Yeah. So, I'm sorry that this video is a little bit shorter. I just wanted to highlight that, I think, really often underlooked part of Thomas Coke's history. I know usually I don't try to make a pastoral point. I think I have on a couple, especially Spafford. But I don't try to. But this I found very inspiring. This whole part. It's just something I've really been thinking about the past couple of weeks, and I'd like to know what your guys' thoughts are. So if you like this video, leave it a like. If you didn't like it, don't leave it a dislike, but just comment letting me know. And if you did like it, leave a comment telling me what you liked, what you didn't like, any questions that you'd want me to look into, or even other Protestant figures that you want me to talk about. I'd be happy to do any one of those things. So, but anyways, that's enough of me rambling here. You all have a wonderful rest of your day. God bless you and all of your families, and I hope to see you in the next video.